I love adversity. When I was in athletics, if I didn't have somebody who I thought was doubting me, I would just pick somebody in the crowd at random and be like, that guy, he thinks I'm gonna lose.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love the young people.
Welcome back to another video. This one is going to be multi-part, and it is very close to my heart because this one is my goals for 2020, and I'm setting some very lofty goals that I call SMART goals. At my current pace, I will not achieve these goals, and that's why they're perfect goals, because these goals require growth. If I don't grow into these goals, then they're just not going to happen. I've got a couple YouTube goals, and I've got some financial goals. No, go away, Graham. So in this video, I'm going to provide you guys a passive income update. I'm going to provide you my passive income goals. I'm going to provide you my financial goals and some YouTube goals. And additionally, I was called out by one of my favorite YouTubers, Joseph Carlson, over at the Joseph Carlson Show. And if I want to make sure that this goal happens, I'm going to have to do some substantial growth. He's got YouTube income, he's got his tech income, he's got a lot larger of a nest egg built up than I do. So I'm going to have to start sprinting if I want to catch up to this dude. That's basically what this means. I'm going to have to be on my grind. He had a lot to say, so if you want to skip this part of the video, go ahead and go down in the description. You can get the gist of what he said, and then skip into my reaction. Otherwise, I'm going to roll the clip right now.
All right, so time for some questions here. I put a post out saying that I'm going to have some more time over the next month or so, over the holidays, answer your guys' questions. So I did get a lot of questions. Hundreds of them, probably 200 plus questions from people. So if you wrote in a question, I'll try to get around to them. But if I'm ignoring you for a week, I promise you I'm reading them. I'm trying to respond to as many as I can. You can write me at josephcarlsonshow@gmail.com or message me on Twitter or Instagram. The first one is from Casey. He says, "Hey Joseph, what would you say are some keys to raising kids that would be self-sufficient, not become spoiled, and want to invest like their parents? I'm not a father, but I'm sure that will change one day. Any book recommendations? P.S. I'm still gunning for your portfolio value. I'm a former collegiate athlete and naturally motivated by competition, even if completely one-sided and imagined. I love the show. Keep it up. Also, you will sell everything during the next recession, Casey." I love the little last line there. You'll sell during the next recession. For people who don't know what he's talking about there, that's a callback to the previous episode. But Casey, you say that you're still gunning for my portfolio value and that you're going to pass it up. I don't plan on letting that happen. So I want you to give me updates on where you're at with your portfolio. And whenever yours starts getting close to mine, I'm going to go ahead and deposit more money just to keep ahead of you. That's the sole reason for doing it. And I don't care if I have to, if I run out of savings, my emergency fund, if I have to take out a second mortgage on my home, if I have to start selling furniture in my house, I plan on staying ahead of your portfolio value. So let me know where you're at so I can keep ahead of you on that. Now to your actual question, you say, what are some keys to raising kids that will be self-sufficient, not become spoiled, and want to invest like their parents? That's a good question. Obviously, it's something I've thought about a lot as I have two kids. I want them to have all of those things. I think about some things that my dad did that, he repeated the same messages over and over again. And if you're a parent and you repeat the same thing over and over again, that starts to stick with you after a while. One of the messages that he repeated, I'm sure is something that he read. It's like a message in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that type of thing. But he said something to the extent of, people who understand interest earn it. People who don't understand it pay it. The only type of debt that he took in was debt that other people were paying for. Meaning that he would take out debt, buy a rental property, and then those rental properties would be paid for by the people living in them. He would be the owner that would, manage them and that type of thing. The people going to work and coming back and living in those rentals, they were the ones paying all the interest on those. They were the ones paying the mortgage on that. That was one thing that he repeated often. And another thing is he would include us in on everything. So we would work at the rentals all the time. We would mow the lawns, we'd go and paint the walls, we'd replace toilets, we would unclog drains. We did all of that stuff all the time. And granted, I hated it when I was a kid because it's hard labor. I didn't understand, the real benefit of that. But I do have memories of him being in his office, and it was the beginning of the month where he would go and collect rent. And this is where, he's kind of old fashioned where he'd just pick up checks. And he'd have a stack of like 16 checks on his desk. And he'd go $400, $500, $350, $350, $400, $350. And he'd go through check after check after check. And you'd say, these are what I earned this month in rent. I didn't have to do too much for this money. That's what owning apartments does. That's what owning these rentals do. When you see somebody flipping through a stack of checks that are each hundreds of dollars that he went and just collected for the effort of them just living in a place that he owns, that sticks with you. Those type of memories stick with you. And that's why on this channel, I've done routinely over and over again. A lot of people have seen it a lot of times. It's something that I'm going to continue to do, to go to the activity page of my broker and show dividend after dividend after dividend coming in. Because when you see that happening, when you see the money start to flow in your portfolio, all the concerns about, did I buy at the exact right time? Did I do this or that? They start to fade away when you realize that this is overall a good thing. That when you invest and things are paying you residual money over and over again, that's a really good thing. I saw that all the time with my dad. He would go and collect the checks. He would say, oh, it's the biggest pain having to take all this money to the bank, right? He's just as sarcastic as I am. So he would complain about having to take all of this money to the bank all the time. He has a coin-up washer in one of them. And he would say sometimes the washer breaks because it's so full of coins, right? They can't fit any more coins in it. So they'll call me saying that the coin-up washer is broken. I'll have to go and open it up and it has about 120 bucks in it. So as far as my actual piece of advice on this is, if you want your kids to be involved in investing, to be excited about it, to learn about finance and investing in these topics, you actually have to talk to them about this subject. You have to bring it up routinely. We live in a culture and a society where, finance is an improper subject to talk about. And a lot of families don't talk about it, even to each other. A lot of spouses don't really talk about finances all that much. And especially, traditionally it's the role of the parents just to go out and earn money to provide for the children. But you never have any discussions with the children on how you're doing that, the type of things that you do to create value and how you invest. Those subjects are never talked about in families. And I think that that's a huge mistake. I mean, heaven forbid, if you talk about finance and investing to your kids, they might accidentally learn something about it. That's the consequence of talking about different subjects with your kids, is some of it they might pick up on after a while. So I think it's repetition, continually bringing these subjects up. You can do it in a very informative way that doesn't create stress for the kid. You don't bring up any real hardships, but you just inform them on how to create value, what you do to create value, how you can serve other people, how you can invest, all those type of things. If you do that routinely, your kid's going to pick up a lot of it. They're like little sponges. They just listen to what you have to say and they'll eventually pick up on what you're saying. As far as the other things, making your kids become self-sufficient, not becoming spoiled when they get older. My dad kept a tally of the money that I spent when I was like in junior high and high school. If I went out with friends and went to the movies and I spent $15, $20, he would track that down on an Excel sheet. And he still has the file. It's like this 500-page long Excel sheet where he would track every single expense, what I went to, what I did. He would put in movie theater with friends, how much money that I borrowed from him. And then he would keep a tally. It had an equation that just summed up on one column how much I owe him. And when we would work at the apartments, I'd pay back that money. So I've done that since junior high and high school. Whenever I wanted to buy something new or go get a new longboard, go to the movies, do something for myself, I realized, man, this is going to go on the Excel sheet. And the next time I'm going to have to mow lawns, I'm going to have to paint different rooms, I'm going to have to work this off. So what that does is that ties together consumption and production. I had a relationship between, if I consumed this much, relatively, I'm going to have to produce this much. I'm going to have to go and work for this long to be able to consume these different items, to be able to purchase these different items. You gain a relationship there between consumption and production. You have to establish that with your kids at some point. If they get into college and they have no idea between consumption and production, if there's no relationship there, they will just consume and consume and consume, take out loans, take out loans, take out loans. The government will aid them in taking out loans that they have no idea how much money they're going to be paying back over time. And once they do figure out, oh boy, this is a lot more consumption than I thought, and to be able to produce this much value to pay this back is really difficult. I should have consumed a lot less. I should have taken out a lot less loans. I should have been a lot more frugal. So establish that relationship between production and consumption early on in life. You can do that just by showing them, in order to purchase these things, you have to work for this long. It's a very simple, straightforward relationship there.
So basically, first of all, he called me out, and I'm a little bit crazy, all right? And I don't think that's a bad thing. A lot of people that become very successful, they're a little bit crazy. You ever seen Elon Musk? Dude's a little bit crazy. Anybody who's been in the locker room with Michael Jordan, dude's a little bit crazy. He's kind of not really with it, man. Like, that guy has a crazy work ethic. All these people that have been successful in all these different ways, they're willing to work 7 days a week. They're willing to just be 24/7, 25/8, working at their goals and just plucking away all the time because they're passionate about it and they want it so bad that they'll do anything for it. And I love adversity. When I was in athletics, if I didn't have somebody who I thought was doubting me, I would just pick somebody in the crowd at random and be like, that guy, he thinks I'm gonna lose.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love the young people.
That guy thinks I suck. He thinks you ain't shit. You're gonna prove him wrong right now. But that's okay, because he called me out directly. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I shift around all my goals to make sure that I pass him up. And it's my personal goal to make sure that I pass him up. So we'll see how that goes. No matter how it goes, you know, we're all winners here. But anyways, in response to his answer to my question, I would say that that is some very insightful stuff. I think that I had a little bit of that in my childhood as well. I had to work for everything that I got in my childhood. My dad basically, I was raised basically working for minimum wage around the house to the point where I was like, I would work so much that like it started to take over a little bit of my social life, and it started to just like, I would work so much and save up. Like, one thing that I saved up to get was this pocket bike. I saved up working for minimum wages, $300, and I just spent it all on this pocket bike. And then I just, like, the feeling was just like, I just spent everything, like all that time, it was for this pocket bike. And it was absolutely worth it. That thing was awesome. But anyways, growing up on those minimum wages and figuring out like, okay, this thing takes me, 30 minutes to wash his car and he pays me this much. And it takes me, this long to cut the grass and he pays me this much. So I started calculating those hourlies, and all of a sudden, you see, eventually it was like, I would be doing all the work around the house, and then eventually it was like, I only did certain tasks, right? Like the ones that paid me the most per hour, I'd be doing those ones. And it was kind of a great lesson growing up, because my brother and I, we got to see what it was like to basically live on minimum wage, because that was our parents' way. Besides food, that was the way that they gave us money. It was like, if you want to go to the dance, you will work for these minimum wages, and like, this is your life. And their thing was, if either you're going to go to college, you're going to increase your income skills, or you're going to work for these minimum wages. And that just, it was such an impactful thing for us. And additionally, just seeing my parents and how well they were doing and how easy their life was in comparison to the concentration camp that they raised us in, working for these minimum wages, it was a great lesson for me. So basically that's what happened in my childhood, and that's kind of what framed my attitude about money. I'm working up a video that is about my childhood and about how I got from there to now, all my mistakes, and I want it to be a good video just because I don't want to look back and it be one of my, crappy early videos. I'd rather it be one of my better videos, so I've just been kind of writing it and saving up on that one. But let me just get right into these goals for 2020. I want to set goals that basically force me to grow. If I keep on going at my current rate, I will not achieve these goals. Another thing that I want to do is make them public. You see that meme go around pretty often that's like, keep your goals private and all those things, but hey, I'd like to make it public because now I know that anybody who's rooting against me knows that I'm failing, so there's that pressure there. Ooh, notification. So I've got these goals categorized. They are cash balance goals, Robinhood value goals, Roth IRA, 529 account, which that is a college savings account. I'll get into exactly why I want to start that. A real estate savings account, and being debt free. So first of all, let's go through the debt and how I plan on paying it off. And this is going to make Dave Ramsey cringe because he just wants you to throw money at debt first. But I personally think that that's a riskier way to go about it. I prefer liquidity, and I kind of see it this way. Debt is kind of like those holes in the ground, right? And piling up things like assets and cash is like having a big pile of dirt. So I'd rather just have a big giant pile of dirt sitting next to the holes, and then I just kind of shove that pile of dirt over the holes. So having a bunch of assets is like having a bunch of dirt above the ground, a bunch of mounds of dirt, and then having those debts is like having little holes in the ground. So what Dave Ramsey kind of wants you to do is take all of your dirt and just throw it into that hole. And the problem with that for me is that if something bad were to happen, you don't have any flexibility. And his reasons for that is, oh, well, you shouldn't have all this money lying around because you're going to waste it. But if anyone out there knows me, I really don't spend on anything. So I just want to have the liquidity to the point where I can build up a big nest egg, and then I can just kind of take that nest egg and literally all I have to do is just shuffle it a little bit to the left, and it covers up those holes. So that's what I'm doing. I am not prescribing that to anyone out there, but that's just how I'm going about it. And let's get into the first goals. So my cash goal for 2020 is $17,000, and the reason for that is that my bills are about $2,000 a month, so that's about 5 months of bills in an emergency fund, and then that's about 2 months of bills just in a checking account. I don't want to have too much more cash than that. Everything else I'm just going to go ahead and invest it, but I do want to get that $17,000 in cash sitting around before I just go ahead and cover up that debt pit, if you want to call it that. The next goal that I have is Robinhood account value, which I might have to tweak this goal just because now that I've been called out, I'm a very competitive guy. We'll see what I end up doing. But the way that I see debt and assets is just, it's not really a debt problem or an assets problem or a volatility of the market problem. It's a net worth problem. So what I need to do is go out there, create some value in the marketplace, and increase my net worth. So that's what's going to solve the problem. I don't really need the same type of help that a lot of people that call up on Dave Ramsey's show. These people are confused. I'll just put it that way. Some of them anyways. Some of these people need a lot of help. Roth IRA, so we've already started funding that. I think it's about $42,000, I wish. That's going to be $6,000 this year and $6,000 next year. I believe the last time I checked. I'll put it on the screen right now for you guys. So that's going to be about a $12,000 venture there. The 529 account. Now that is a college savings plan. It's basically a tax exempt plan that you can put your money into, and you can save for yourself to go to college, you can save for a child to go to college, you can save for anyone to go to college. Just as long as it goes to college expenses, it's a tax sheltered account. So I'm going to basically put that in my name, and it is important for me if I ever do start a family, or even if it's just someone within my extended family, to just start a college fund, to just start giving back. And if I don't end up having anywhere to give it back to, then I guess I'll just go to school. So it's really just a win-win if you ask me. So I want to get that started in 2020. A real estate savings account value is my next goal. I want to get this to about 20 grand. And my last two goals are paying off all my debts. I've got about 30K in debt, but like I said, it's more of a net worth problem. I've got them paid way out into the future, so right now I'm not paying down any payments. But right now, like I'm saying, it's a net worth problem. It's not really a debt versus assets versus cash problem. And my net worth has been growing very exponentially ever since I've been doing the things that we talk about on this channel. Overall, this plan is going to cost me $110,000 after tax, and I do not make that right now. So as of right now, there is absolutely no way that I make this happen by next year. So that's why it's a great goal for me, because I need to grow in order to get this goal. And I'm making it public so that people can hold me accountable. If you were to look at this video next year and you say, well, how'd your New Year's resolution go? And I haven't made it. Well, it's just that little extra pressure. If you tell people you're going to go to the gym and then they see you not at the gym, there's just that social pressure. So that's why I'm making it public. That's why the goals are so big. And hopefully you guys like this video. Go ahead and leave a comment down below what you guys' goals are for 2020. And I'll see you guys in the next one.